So there is nothing to ignite. To work actually in any job is considered like, why would you want to do work in some job? It's like I'm from family of Gujaratis, family of businessmen. So what happens is that in our community, it is normal and natural to start something on your own. It can be anything. It can be IT, it can be trading, business, hotels, anything. But that's your natural way. So I didn't know any other way except that I did 1 year of a job. And at that time it became even more clearer after the 9th month that I don't think I can fit within a normal corporate profile. I had to do something of my own. So I've had, till now I've had several failures actually. In fact, there are fewer successes and more failures. Funnily enough, the first few things that you learn about from failures is that, which now seems to be very simple, but from my very first startup, the big failure I quickly learned of from that time is what is glamorous in startups is not necessarily money making, and what is money making is not necessarily glamorous. So I had started off a company thinking I will build control OCXs, as they were called then, or VPXs, OCXs, or development controls, and I'll sell a lot of those controls. What I didn't realize is that there may not be too much money in that market. The biggest players, now I don't know what the size was, I don't remember it, but the biggest players themselves in that whole market were not very big. So I realized it might be glamorous, but it may not be money making. That's the first lesson I learned. Quickly changed my business model to doing some services and some other IT related stuff on products which were found deep use in enterprises, and there would be people who would pay for it. So that I realized is the first lesson. The second lesson that I learned is not to get caught up in what I read recently in a Harvard Business Review article, but I didn't know it in that way earlier, is not to get caught up in what is known as entrepreneurship bone. Right back then, when I had started my second company, I thought that entrepreneurship is all about passion, it's all about getting the culture right, getting your people together, getting the right team, making sure the interview processes are tight. We had among the best interview processes, we had the best team, we had the best technical minds probably at that time coming out of colleges. We all teamed up, we were a 20-member team, we had a great office, very innovative looking, all of that. But what we didn't have is a significant enough idea of what it is that we are going to sell. And we took so long over creating the idea, it took about a year, that we bled quite a bit of money. And while it was a great passionate place to be in, and every 2 weeks we would explore something new, I realized I think we should have done it the other way around. We should have got the passion and ideas first and then got the team together. Which now in hindsight seems like it's a very common sense thing to do. But right out of college you start getting caught up in things that you read, and you say, oh God, I want to build a passionate team, because the only things you read about is how nice Googleplex is, or how that team is built, or how they have free food, and then you get caught up and enamored by the wrong things. But you do need to have an idea first, and you need to be able to sell it. The third thing I learned in one more startup which I had is that you have to be in tune and in sync with the market. We were trying to build what is known as a reverse firewall. Nowadays, we didn't know what it was called then. But firewalls were just about entering the market, and we were trying to build a software-based reverse firewall, where if an intruder comes into your network, then they can't go out. But I think it was an idea so much ahead of its time. People were still trying to get educated on what firewalls are. To get them to buy reverse firewalls was an uphill task. So that was another failure. Your idea, whether it's in tune with the times, whether you're speaking at the right time, is another thing I've learned over a period of time, that you must actually validate that. That's about what I've learned. The more important, those are the failures, but there are some more lessons I learned about what worked, so that we could talk about next. But there's a lot that I learned over my 16-year journey as an entrepreneur.
So what is
See, the question is, to what extent does India need entrepreneurs?
potential entrepreneur?
Potential entrepreneurs, I think India is in dire need of that. especially in the IT segment. So entrepreneurs can be in any segment, right? They can be in retail, they can be in manufacturing, and it has been proven, there has been no doubt in anyone's mind that there is a need for entrepreneurs in all other segments for sure, other than IT. Those entrepreneurs are very much required, and that has been proven. We have manufacturers, we have the cheapest car in the world being manufactured from here, although it's from a reputed industry house, but it was run like an entrepreneurial venture by itself. We had cycles, we are the largest manufacturer of cycles. So we've got a lot of things going on in the other segments, but what we don't have isn't technology. We've had, if you look at the beginning, maybe 10, 12 years ago, we had barely, IT was less than 2% of, contributing to less than 2% of the national income. And today it contributes to more than 10%. But I would say largely that today's 10% is also by and large, to a very, very large extent, contributed by what is known by someone else. Someone told me about this phrase. It's what is known as technical coolies. So most of us in India have at least become technical coolies. And what is needed is actually to move away from becoming technical coolies to being the technical, showing the technical wizardry that we actually have in most other places in the US and the Valley. Most of the founders, I think I read somewhere, 40% of the startups in the Valley have an Indian associated with them. So that's the potential of what could happen, and what's happening here is not really as much. So we definitely need more entrepreneurs in the IT space here. If I were to start a new business again, which I'm looking to start, so I'm looking at starting 2 new startups. The first thing I would do is make sure I validate the idea very, very completely. I get the idea focused, laser sharp. I get a very clear idea of how I'm going to be making money. Of course, the models will keep changing. Nothing is ever final, and in most startups, the final shape that it takes and the first shape that it had are significantly different. But I'd like to get as close to the final as possible before I launch it. So that is the first thing I would do differently. Second thing I would do differently is I would probably take advantage more earlier on in the cycle than what I did in my earlier startups. I would take advantage of newer channels of marketing, newer ways of getting noticed, newer ways of getting discovered, and then newer ways of getting subscription, etc. So that's the second thing. 3 pieces of advice for college students. First advice, if you feel you can do it by yourself, most likely you're wrong. You do need to have a founding team partner with you most of the time. From what I've seen, at least there are 2 or 3 people who are your founding team members. So make sure you're together. You find a founding team member along with you, or 2 maybe, because everyone has different skills and different ways in which they contribute to your startup. So I would say find your co-founders. That's the first advice I would give. Second, of course, I would say then keep refining your idea. After you've got the right chemistry with your co-founders, you've got the right vision, you know what you want to do together, why you're doing it, etc. Get your idea more fine-tuned. Keep flaking the idea. Keep going deeper and deeper into the idea. Keep peeling the layers of the onion more and more till you reach the real nub of your idea. And why would people use your idea? Who is your customer? Why would he use it? What exactly is your idea? Why would they use it against alternatives that they are using now? Whether it's a consumer, business to consumer kind of idea or business to business, but make sure you ask yourself all the difficult questions and answer all of them to the maximum extent possible. So that would be, for me, the second advice that I would give. The third piece of advice I would definitely give a college startup is that you have to go out on the street, speak to customers, potential users, and gather as much of their thoughts as you can. Share your idea and see if it's going to fly. Because once you have a team and you have an idea, it's still within yourself. It hasn't been validated by the outside world. Validate, keep validating find that your strategy, your idea, everything will start getting shaped differently from all the outside input that you get. And once you get that, you'll also get an idea of whether it is a sustainable idea or not, and whether it is something that people need. And don't be afraid to change the idea, or even let go of your early idea. Don't get too attached to your early idea just because you got enamored by it. Maybe the feedback might not be as good, so you might have to pivot and change to another idea. So that's the piece of advice that I would give, the third piece of advice.